Good morning and welcome to this edition of Mornings in Corning. I'm actually in a very fun spot. I'm in my office with Adam Price. Adam, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thank you for the opportunity.
It is wonderful to have you here. Adam, you are a teacher, a music teacher, but you also have developed this really fun kind of art with technology. 3D printing, right?
Oh yeah.
So tell me a little bit about how in the world did you get involved in 3D printing?
Well, you know, when COVID shutdowns hit, I ended up having so much extra time on my hands, and I ended up going through a ton of health issues as well. And, you know, the options were really either stop moving and, let everything take control, or keep moving, take the most, and see what you can come out with. So I got attached to some 3D printing videos, learned how to do some re-engineering, and I was really hooked from there.
So tell us a little bit about, this is the printer, obviously, and a lot of times people don't really understand how 3D printing works. I, of course, am one of them, until I've actually seen what's happening right now before our very eyes as you are printing something. Tell us a little bit about this technology, the history of it, and how you got to acquire such a unique machine.
Oh, definitely. So these printers, honestly, they've come really affordable to the consumer base at this point. Originally, they were $2,000 or $3,000 machines where they would take hours on hours, and they used toxic materials. With how it's evolved over the last few years, they use a new material called PLA, which is actually corn-based.
Okay.
It starts out as a nice little spool of filament,
Mm-hmm.
and what happens is I toss it into a filament dryer, make sure everything comes out nice and clean, and as it goes through my system, it pretty much just forces it through a hot end, which heats it up and forces it into shape. It has 3 or 4 different heating sensors, but other than that, it just kind of mills it out for you as a little kind of maze design.
That's neat. And so after this is finished, is it good to just pick up, or do you have to let it wait a little bit, or how's that work?
You can take it right off the plate, you can bend it right off, or if it cools off, it has a little, it's kind of like a shock reaction where it pops right off.
Nice. Okay. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk to Adam Price a little bit more about 3D printing. He's going to demonstrate some of the wonderful pieces of art that he's actually worked on already. And then we're going to find out where, if you're interested in getting one of these. So keep it right here. We'll be right back. Welcome back this Friday morning. We continue our discussion with Adam Price about 3D printing. Adam, over the last segment, you told us a little bit about how you got involved in this. Is this your first 3D printer?
So I tried some earlier versions which were a lot more basic. They required a lot more maintenance with leveling and things like that. And honestly, I couldn't get into it at that point just because of how busy I was. Coming back into it, I went right into one of these machines. It's called an Anycubic Viper. And they're widely available in, around the $400, $430 range. And for what it is, it auto levels, so all you have to do is hit, start, go, and then it's done. After you do some designing through your classic software, of course, it honestly comes out pretty easily. I have to hop in with my laptop with a few other softwares called Cura and Pronterface, which work on things like flow, make sure everything comes out at the proper rate. If I change any piece on it, it'll actually change everything when it comes to heat, flow, anything like that.
So you have this set at a specific.
Oh yeah.
Specific. How long does something take? I mean, we had this on for at least an hour so far, way before we even started this segment this morning, and it's been going pretty strong. But how long does a piece usually take to make?
So it depends on how it's laid out. If the infill's right with one of these cubes, it takes about 3 hours, 3 hours, 15 minutes. If I did something larger and more detailed, like the egg, which actually uses some cooling properties, it'll take longer, but you get a lot more detail out of it. So one of these eggs will take about 9.5 hours in comparison, but it's much larger, it's much stronger, and honestly, the quality comes out a lot better as well.
Nice. Now, in the last segment, you had mentioned that some of the old 3D printers actually were using some type of toxic material when you would use to print. But you use something different, right?
Oh yeah, I use more eco-friendly material. So most plastics use petroleum-based additives or things like that, which when burned, they're toxic. You have to have fumigation for it. And ABS overall, it just gets a lot more temperamental. In the last few years, they started working with, it's actually a breakdown of corn. They turn it into a polylactic acid, and what happens is it can be degraded, industrially recycled. If you toss this in the oven at the right temperature and then you toss it into a compost pile, it'll disappear within a year.
Wow, all right. Well, thank you for that. We're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, Adam's going to talk a little bit about some of his favorite things to make with this 3D printer, so keep it right here. Welcome back this Friday morning. I am with Adam Price. He is a local teacher and also an amazing artist who uses technology with his craft. And we're talking today about 3D printers. I know, Adam, a lot of people have been fascinated with using 3D printers. Now, you're a teacher. Do you ever utilize it with your students?
Oh yeah, you know, I think it can really be used for making budget equipment. For what's available in the workplace, we're really stuck to 3 or 4 vendors that have, you know, limited options. When you can work with a material like this, if I hop into the right software and I slice it the right way, it comes out at, you know, 1/3 or 1/4 of the price of what we could pay at the school, and it means I can make my budget last a lot longer.
Well, that's good. What are some of the favorite things that you have made since you've started this?
Oh my gosh, that's such a hard question. The more artistic ones are my favorites, honestly. I love the cartoony octopus planners that I've come out with in the last couple months. I've been working with holidays as well with the Easter egg, which I've loved. It was my first real experience with cooling, so I ended up just getting to really blast it out, and it really got me working on a one-of-a-kind design as well, because I learned how to work, you know, Cura and Slicer software along with it.
Now, you've also done some, I see, obviously, Shamrock for St. Patrick's Day. I remember seeing that you did the heart for Valentine's Day. And what do you utilize some of these pieces for?
Well, they're really perfect for planters. They can be used for just about anything because of the material they're made out of. As long as they're left indoors, or, you know, you're in a reasonable temperatured area, these start to warp at about 170 degrees, 175, so as long as they're left outside of a car. But they're perfect when you have the drainage holes for stuff like planters, succulents. You can take out the holes in them, and I've started doing that for assortments for plants like roses and larger things like that that actually need to hold the water for you.
Okay.
The other thing is you can start to make other functional things that go along with it, which is perfect for the design.
Yeah. What are some of the functional things that you've made?
I've been working on a hexagon design which actually drains into other planters.
Oh, nice.
So it has a full tray on the bottom which has stilts that go into each other, and they'll drain one into the next level.
That's pretty cool. All right. We're going to take another break here, but when we come back, we're going to talk to Adam a little bit more about 3D printing, and if you're something you're interested in, we'll learn where you can get your 3D printer. Welcome back this Friday morning. I am with Adam Price. Adam, thank you so much for joining us. It's so great to have you.
Thank you for the opportunity. I really can't say it enough.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun this morning talking to you. If I was interested in getting one of your planners for one of my plans, where would I go and get it from you?
You know, I primarily sell right out of Chamberlain Acres. They are so genuine and so nice of people that, you know, I can't say thank you enough to them either, but, you know, the opportunity came along, and with how nice they've been, I think it's nice to only go through them for right now.
Oh, okay, great.
You know, I go through Facebook Marketplace locally if it's a one of, but other than that, I love sharing the designs around with them and seeing what they like most of all, because honestly, with the consumer base they have, it's good to see what sells well and what doesn't, and what could really prosper versus what wouldn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's quite interesting. And you do have a lot of unique plants, obviously, that, you know, they have a lot of unique plants, and you have a lot of unique planters to complement those plants. When you're deciding on a design, where do you go and get it? Is there some specific kind of, you just take a picture and it becomes it, or is there a specific file that you need in order to create such a 3D object?
So the way that I've been doing it is I actually started out working with a friend overseas, and he taught me how to re-engineer this in the first place. And it turns out that in the long run, he was a designer as well. He started teaching me slicer software known as Fusion 360, which lets us turn these into like a little three-dimensional graph where we build it up based out of shapes. So it's a ton of independent lines turned into the end piece. So the way the egg started out was you can get the basic shape out of it, but there's about 150 different options as to how you want to do it or the perfect angle. It took us about 3 or 4 hours to get to the end of this, but honestly, it was worth it because you learn along how to do, you know, the infill settings, how to entirely change the walls, everything like that. Even just, I mean, the drain layering along with it. It's the formulas and buttons that go along with that that make it so fun.
Adam, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It was a pleasure to have you. We look forward to seeing some more of your wonderful art pieces and what you have in store. Of course, we're going to post this complete series on our website, mytwintears.com. All of these wonderful segments of us talking to Adam this morning. So make sure you check it out, mytwintears.com. There'll also be a link to his Instagram account. But we're going to toss it back to Chelsea now.